Hi, we're up again with part 4 now, I believe. We're on of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So obviously last time we left it at 17, and this is where we get into some of my favourites. So Article 18. So yeah, it's you know, you want to be a Latter-day Saint or a Mormon, a Buddhist, a Jedi, even, go for it. If then down the line you suddenly realise that, you know what, this isn't for me, you go for it. So I don't want to hear any more kind of like, oh, that religion's wrong and that religion's wrong. I don't want to hear it anymore, because it's there. Although that said, let's get Article 19 on the go. Alright, so I suppose I will have to hear it if you want to put it. But this is one of those tricky things where people like to misinterpret. Because it's a case of, well, no one deserves, if you will, sort of hateful speech or hateful acts. But this kind of says, well, if you have an opinion, then you can express that however you wish. And I sort of go back to, if you've seen my video on the Section 5 of the Public Order Act reforms, which, if you haven't, you can have a quick gander there. This is kind of what that's covering, and frankly, I agree with kind of how it's phrased in that term. So anything that's just like insulting, like you're an idiot, that's fine. That's an opinion, whether valid or invalid. It's still an opinion. When it comes to you're an idiot, I'm going to kill you, for argument's sake, that's when it's a problem. That's basically that's how it's broken down, really. So I hope that makes more sense. So yeah, let's move straight on to Article 20. So yeah, straightforward, really. It's not saying, hey, go and riot, because that's fun. Just saying, yeah, if you want to sort of belong to a certain group or such, then that's cool. Again, as long as you're not doing anything that breaches any of the other guidelines, really. And also, no one can kind of go, well, I suppose it's like how families will often follow traditions and say, we've always done this, or we've always been to this, or always been members of this particular group, and they sort of almost pressure the children into it. Well, this is kind of saying, well, you shouldn't do that, really. Basically, no one should be forced to belong to an association. That's pretty much saying, yeah, don't push people into effectively following what you feel, which is, again, just decent humanity, really. So, Article 21. So yeah, this is quite a good one with regards to governmental things, because people seem to have really let this one go. And in the first video, I did sort of mention about how, or I think, sorry, in the notes, if you will, from the first video, people are very, very willing to allow the government to walk over them, and the government are quite happy with this, because the government should know better, and the governments really, I'm not saying the government, but really governments across the world should know better, because they would be logically aware of these guidelines, which they are bound to by anyone else because they're human. Really, so it's a very difficult one because, you know, we need to really take back our rights on this one. I mean, there's a whole thing, if you're not from the UK, it's been quite recent about, well, what's being called the bedroom tax. Now, there are elements of it that do make sense, but so many people are kind of going and complaining on social media and, you know, just kind of sitting there fuming over it. Weirdly enough, people who sometimes haven't done research, people who, for example, are in a vulnerable position and would need, you know, extra space in their tenancy to continue to get welfare assistance. Because basically, if you've got more, so, you know, as I say, for those who don't know, even in the UK, if you're receiving any sort of welfare towards your housing, using the generalised term so the whole world can understand, because housing benefit doesn't make sense to people who aren't in the UK necessarily. So if you're receiving welfare assistance for, as I say, for your housing needs, then if you've got, say you're one single able-bodied person and you're in a 2-bedroom property, well, there's an extra bedroom that could be being used by someone else in need, right? Which, taken at its core, it's a fair statement. A lot of people are complaining because they're saying, well, I need that extra bedroom because I'm disabled, I need overnight care. There's actually in the draft, by the way, it's a draft at this stage, but in that draft it does in fact state that that's one of the exceptions. And again, it's a draft. So at this point, you know, I'm sorry for kind of sidetracking a lot, but it's kind of out that I've come to it quite recently to this, and I feel it's a nice sort of 2 for 1. So I'm going to have to tag it appropriately. More's the pity. But yeah, you know, this is the kind of thing. It's like, well, you have the right to take part in the government. You have the right to, you know, public services, but the will of the people. I have to read it again. Really. The will of the people should be the basis of the authority of government. That basically says, if you don't like what the government are doing, well, they're meant to follow your will as much as anything. You know, so that's, again, all interpretation. But I interpret this as, if you don't like what the government are doing, let's step the heck in there. And just make sure that things are sorted out. So, yeah, there you go. That's that in a nutshell. With, as I say, a nice example, which is quite rare. I normally just use made up ones, so it's quite nice to be able to use a real world situation for some of these. It's why I think I like some of the later ones. But anyway, 22. Let's move on. This one is a good one because, again, this is where more tying in comes in. So where there's all these kind of welfare reforms in a number of countries because they don't understand that, frankly, who is the world in debt to? I apologise for my phone randomly trying to get my attention, by the way, during this, in case you're wondering what the background noise is. It's just feeling a bit left out. Basically, you have the rights and the state, if you will, or as it says, the organisation and resources of each state, you know. So, yeah, they kind of have the duty to help you realise your full potential and keep your dignity. A lot of this is going by the wayside in a number of places. Obviously, even in so-called developed and civilised countries, we're seeing a lot of this issue. Let's not even look at, you know, sort of, shut up. Attention-seeking phone. There you go. This is the world that we live in now, where our technology is like, excuse me, hello, come and speak to me. I kid you not. But yeah, so as I say, it's you know, if it kind of says, well, I mean, to me, I could do with a whole load of different equipment, obviously because of, you may be aware, sort of an issue with my camera, sorry, not my camera, my microphone. I should theoretically be able to go to the state, right, to freely develop my personality and keep my dignity and keep helping people to realise my full potential, you know, and feel secure in my social status. Could you get me a decent microphone? You could again interpret it that way. Article 23. You want to go out and work? Good. That's fine. You go and do that. You know, you just go out and go and do a job. The important thing is, though, here, which is where you know, a lot of kind of, I suppose, forcing people into jobs comes into a bit of a but the free choice of employment. So that kind of says, you know, you don't want to, you know, just take the first job in a warehouse, just packaging stuff up. Then you shouldn't have to. Which is obviously, again, where a lot of welfare reforms are kind of perhaps trying to get away from, you know, and saying, well, there's a job there. If you want a job, there's a job. Well, it's like, yeah, but I want a job that fulfills me. Again, freely, to enable free development of the personality, Article 22 callback, right there. And obviously, you know, you should be able to get paid for it. Equally, again, this was written well before, like, you know, various glass ceilings were brought down. And it just goes to show that it takes some time sometimes, but it does work. Such as with the Section 5 reforms, which is good. And, you know, if you need additional support, then you should get that as well. And, hey, you want to join a union, do so. I know obviously there's weird things in America with the unionisation and how those work. I don't fully understand it because I've never been in that system. So, but I know obviously there's been kind of issues lately with, you know, sort of free market and unionised work. So this kind of almost links into that, I suppose. I did probably say that was going to be the last one, but I think Article 24 needs to be covered off first. No one, not one single person, should have to, like, just, you know, work, and more work. Every single person has that entitlement to just take some downtime. You know, even if it's just a week off for your birthday and maybe sort of around, you know, sort of Christmas or whatever kind of wintry festivities you end up partaking in, depending on your belief systems and your social structure. That's fine, you know, and it does say periodic holidays as well, which is good. I mean, obviously if you're not in paid employment, you know, if you're in like sort of self-employment and things like that, you know, that still applies, you know. Don't think, well, I'm self-employed and I need to work every second of every day. Because, like the people who are in employment, you will burn out and you will be in a very bad place. So, yeah. You know, so, actually, I hope you can appreciate why I needed to stick that one in there, really. It was like, I can't leave it and then go, this one's really tied into that, so I'll leave it to next time. But, yeah, so next video, what are we now, just 6 to cover off, I believe? You know, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Yeah, 6 to cover off. I don't know why I couldn't do that then. If there is 30, I've got it in my head that it's 30, maybe a little over 30, but should be just one more. Now, obviously, as last time, you know, spread the word, chuck us a like, lend us a subscribe, and hey, I'll see you next time. Take it easy.